Right now, AI handles almost every stage of cold email for my lead generation agency. From sourcing and qualifying leads to categorizing replies and drafting responses. The system practically runs itself. And yes, all whilst we're sending over 200,000 emails a month. And outside of reviewing the results of the ongoing campaigns, I'm barely touching it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through this full AI-powered setup so you can truly copy it and have a system that handles all the work automatically, whilst keeping your deliverability on point and getting responses to your cold emails without having to manually write each individual cold email by hand every single time. Anyways, let's jump right into it. Now, needless to say, the first stage of any lead generation process is finding the right leads. And the goal here, of course, is not to build the biggest lead list possible, but to build a list that fits your ideal client profile. Now, typically we would use one of these 5 approaches in order to source any lead list that we source on behalf of any of our clients. So as you can see on the screen right now, the first option is if we're going after any sort of LinkedIn audiences. For example, we're selling into financial services or into consulting companies. In that case, we probably are best off finding leads from a LinkedIn database where we have a lot of contacts that already have a LinkedIn account. For the purpose of this, we typically use a tool called Smartlead, and inside of Smartleads, they have this really cool database functionality called Smart Prospect. So all we need to do is navigate into our Smartlead account, click into Smart Prospect in the top left-hand corner, and over here, we're able to then filter based on the job titles of leads. So for example, we can type in something like partner and the industry to be business services, and the keyword in the company profile could be something like consulting. And based on this, we'll then be able to find a good list of contacts that fit our ideal client profile, in which case is basically any partners that work at consulting firms. So we can see all of the partners here, and we're immediately able to then find their emails all inside of Smartlead before then pushing those leads into outreach. So that's typically the first type of leads that we reach out to. So anyone that's present on LinkedIn, typically we would use a tool called Smart Prospect for that. Alternatively, there are some other options on the market like Prospeo, AI Arc, and LinkedIn Recruiter and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which are most commonly used by sales teams these days, and recruiters, of course. Now, if we're going after specifically tough niche markets, we do use some lookalike tools as well. So for the purpose of this one, the most popular lookalike tool on the market is Ocean.io. And the way that it works is pretty straightforward. All you would need to do is just type in the name of a company that fits your ideal client profile really, really well. So for example, let's say if we input Anthropic.com, it will then give us lookalikes of Anthropic. So for instance, it will give us a bunch of other LLM, large language model companies that we can go after over here. So to companies like OpenAI, for instance, as well. And that's specifically when we're looking for lookalike lead lists where we want to mimic our existing customers, our existing pipeline leads, or anyone of that sort. Now, more than that, there are a bunch of different other options which I don't really have the time to dive into, but if we're going after any audiences that are brick and mortar or local businesses, you're best off scraping Google Maps. Now, there are a bunch of different tools, there are a bunch of different tutorials that I made on this before. For instance, how to scrape Google Maps using Serpa, OpenMart, and Apify. And if you want me to share a library of all of my tutorials for how to use all of these lead generation tools that I've just talked about, by all means, just go check out the second link in the description down below, and I'll be giving away all of these tutorials so you can learn how to use all of these tools in your own time. Now, let's imagine for a second that the audience that we're trying to go after does not hang out on LinkedIn and is quite hard to identify from Google Maps alone. In that case, that's when typically we would use some sort of AI agents or scraping tools or custom scraping tools that are able to pull information directly from niche directories and websites. So in this case, I came across this random manufacturers directory in the United Kingdom. So because I'm so techie and I'm so geeky and I'm so nerdy, I have this Chrome extension installed, which is called the Instant Data Scraper. And if I just click on the extension in the top right-hand corner of my screen, as you can see right now, I'm able to automatically scrape all of these companies that are on the list over here. So you can see there are 5 or 6 companies over here. I can scrape them over here, and within just a couple of clicks, I've just been able to scrape it, and I've got a CSV file, which I can see in the top right-hand corner over here with the manufacturer's directory that has been exported. And this is typically the first stage of the lead generation process. You can automate a lot of this using tools like Claude Code, and you can probably see in my background right now, Claude Code is actually running, and it's currently sourcing lead lists from restaurants and building associations in Houston, and that's something that we're doing on behalf of another client right now as we speak. And this just speaks to how automated and AI-driven this entire process process is, as long as you know what tools you need to connect using a tool like Clay or Claude Code. Alright, so we covered the first part of the lead generation process, which is finding the right leads. Typically, after you find the right leads, the second step is to enrich those leads, and typically that means that you need to find the email, validate the email, find the LinkedIn profile of the prospect, find the website URL of the prospect's company, because based on this, you can then carry out the next step, which is the company and the person level qualification to make sure that each individual in that lead list does not just have an email address, but also qualifies your ICP metrics. After we do that, we can then use Claude Code to do some deep research. And in order to do some deep research, you just need to tell Claude Code what you would typically do manually otherwise. And based on that, you can basically do a bunch of freaky research for you. And you can see in this case, we're reaching out to companies like Starbucks, Citation, Canva, and some other companies like McKinsey, for instance. And in every single case, the email is fully personalized because of that deep research. And the secret to that is you training up this AI automation tool on how you would typically write an email manually to maybe 5 or 10 prospects. And based on that, after you show how you would write that email for 5 or 10 prospects, it learns your habits and it can basically imitate what you're doing manually inside of the actual Claude Code platform. And that's typically step number 4, which is your ability to do the deep research and to mimic what you're doing manually already by personalizing the outreach copy as a part of your lead generation process. Now, as a next step, after you have all of those leads, you enrich them, you qualify them, you personalize the outreach in a tool like Claude Code, you are then able to push them into some sort of email automation tool that automatically handles the email durability for you and also handles the actual email sending and the campaign stats. So in my case, I typically use the Smartlead MCP, the Model Context Protocol, which is just like a fancy way to connect Smartlead, my email automation tool of choice. And it's just basically the easiest way to connect it directly to Claude Code. So in this case, you can just follow the instructions in this guide. You just basically go to settings, get the API key, and based on that, you can just drop them into the chat in Claude Code, and then you're able to automatically add those leads over here that you see in front of your eyes. You can add those leads into a campaign in Smartlead just by telling the Claude Code chat to add these leads to a Smartlead campaign, right? And it's as simple as that, right? After you set up the basics behind Claude Code and you set up the basics behind the system, it's super, super intuitive. I'll be making sure to link this MCP connection guide underneath the video as well, alongside all the other free resources for you to check out for yourself. And by the way, on top of that, I'll also be adding a free 3-hour Claude Code course specifically for lead generation purposes, which you can check out in your own time. So you can onboard with Claude Code and you can start integrating it in order to mimic the exact system that I'm showing you here as well. So as you can see on the screen now, if email provider A does not find the email, we go to email provider B, then email provider C, and so on. And to avoid us having to take out 10 or 20 different email finder subscriptions, I basically either use Better Contact or Full Enrich in order to find the email addresses and the mobile numbers of the prospects. So I very much recommend that you check out those tools in your own time because they will give you the most email coverage, and I'm not even associated with these tools at the time of me recording this video. And as I mentioned already, after all the leads are enriched, after all the leads are verified, that's the point at which you can push them into Smartlead literally by just prompting Claude Code in order to do that for you. And you can see what it would look like in a Clay table on your screen right now. So typically we would import a lead list, we will qualify to make sure that the job title matches the ICP criteria. Then we basically would qualify based on other factors like how many locations does this company have, which in this case is a screening criteria for this specific client. We then find the LinkedIn profiles of individuals, we find the mobile phone numbers, and then after we do all of that, all you can do inside of a tool like Clay is just type in Smartlead. You should then be able to see over here, it gives you the add lead to campaign enrichment. So if you click into that, you can select the campaign inside of Smartlead and then just push all of the variables across. And if you want to send an entire email from Clay into Smartlead, you can just use custom fields, add a new value pair, and over here just type something in like email 1, and then over here you can just map using the front slash wherever the email is as a variable from your Clay table. And as I mentioned already, Smartlead is the heart of that entire system, so the entire system lives inside of Smartlead. By the way, if you do want to give Smartlead a try for yourself, I'll be adding the first link in the description down below, which will give you a 2-week free trial of Smartlead, and more than that, it will give you some free credits to try out the Smart Prospect feature, which will let you find probably about 500 leads, maybe a couple of thousand leads completely for free without requiring to take in your credit card details. So if I were you, go make the most of it. It will be the top link in the description underneath the video right away. Now, I'm low-key running out of time, but I've spent over an hour recording a separate video showing you how to personalize every single cold email. And yes, I shared it during a webinar that I did with Smartlead a while ago. So if you you want to catch up on that and find out for yourself how to personalize every single cold email, it'll be the second link in the description down below alongside all of the other free resources that I promised. And trust me, I take this stuff seriously. I'll make sure to pack it with all the resources. So if you want to see how to generate fully personalized emails like the ones that you can see on the screen right now on my side, then by all means, just go and check out that guide, second link in the description down below. You can see in this case, it's personalizing emails for Costa Coffee, for Adobe, and all of these other companies that we're reaching out to as well on behalf of this specific client. Now, we're really lucky because typically you would have to go manually into Smartlead, click on email campaigns, and then create the campaign over here. But in my case, I'm extremely fortunate because I'm able to automatically create campaigns directly from Claude Code. So all I say to Claude Code is, hey, create a Smartlead campaign. And assuming that I already gave it my API key for Smartlead, it just automatically creates the campaign, configures all the settings, and does all of that boring stuff on my behalf. And as soon as a campaign is live, typically I head over into the master inbox on the left-hand side over here and click on unread replies to see any new replies that are coming in from any of the campaigns that are ongoing. And in that case, I can just bookmark this page and basically just refresh it to see any net new replies that come in during the day or in the evening when I'm away from my computer. And by the way, Smartlead also has a mobile app where you can actually see the instant reply notifications there as well if you keep your notifications on from Smartlead. And by the way, whenever someone replies positively from Smartlead, typically it triggers a make scenario to run. And again, if you don't know how to do this, I'll make sure to add a video which explains how to do this because I filmed it probably about 6 months ago and you can check it out for yourself. But essentially all it requires is for you to head into your Smartlead account and go into settings, and inside of settings over here, if you go into webhooks, you just add a new webhook, and basically you would just copy and paste the webhook from make.com. And I'm going to give away this exact scenario so you can copy and paste it into your business. It should be super smooth. It will be like a 5-minute walking you through how you can trigger this, and that will mean that every time that a lead replies positively to your Smartlead campaign, you get notified via Slack, and also that lead is also added into a Google Sheets at the same time. And that is especially useful if you have a ton of clients that you're looking after, because in that case you don't just need to anxiously log into the master inbox every single morning hoping to see another positive reply. Now lastly, whenever any leads do reply to cold outreach, I have Smart Funnel active. All I need to do is in the bottom left hand corner of the panel, click on CRM deals, and I should be able to see Smart Funnel over here, which automatically adds any leads that reply to cold outreach into a nice pipeline view, meaning that not only are the leads visualized in the form of a pipeline, but also it's quite easy to stay on top of all of the leads. It's then also quite easy to track the lead progress. So in this case, we can basically move leads from the new lead stage over to email sent, over to reply received, and so on. And that way we can even assign values to different deals, we can follow up, and we can just stay on top of all the lead activities. So guys, if you want to run a setup which is very similar to what I've showed throughout this video already, you can start a free trial of Smartlead by clicking on the top link in the description down below. You will have the exact domain infrastructure, email warm-up functionalities, email personalization, and all of this reply management magic running all through one platform, which is AI powered. So all of the work on the back end is done automatically for you. Again, all you need to do is just click that top link in the description down below, double check that you're subscribed to the Smartlead YouTube channel. And by the way, if you liked this video, you would absolutely love the video popping up over here right now, and that video will teach you how you can generate unlimited leads using Claude Code in just a matter of minutes. So go check out that video and I'll see you there.